Hi guys, and welcome to ASMR Diary. My name is Jessica, and in today's video, I'll be starting a series where I read to you guys. And the first book that I'm going to kick this series off with is Moby Dick. Now, this version of Moby Dick is revised by Archie Oliver, and this particular revision is adapted for modern readers of all ages. Moby Dick itself, though, was written by Herman Melville, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about him because we have some information here on the first page. So, Moby Dick was written by the author Herman Melville. Herman Melville lived from 1819 to 1891. Herman Melville was born in New York in the United States of America. At the age of 15, he went away to sea, taking a job as cabin boy aboard a ship bound for Liverpool in England. Melville quickly fell in love with the sea. In 1841, he joined a whaling ship on a voyage to the South Seas. It was a journey on which he was to base much of the story of the great white whale Moby Dick. He also joined the United States Navy, but by the mid-1840s, he had left to start a writing career. Moby Dick, Melville's masterpiece, was published in 1851. It has since been made into several films and television series. His other works include novels such as Billy Budd, poems, and short stories such as the popular Bartleby the Scrivener. Introduction. Oh, the rare old whale, mid-storm and gale, in his ocean home will be, a giant in might where might is right, a king of the boundless sea. An old sea song. Tales of giant whales were the stuff of folk legend in the olden days. The sperm whale, to which family Moby Dick belonged, is one of the largest creatures on the planet. The author of this book tells of sperm whales almost 90 feet long and around 90 tons in weight, the weight of nearly 1,000 men. In the 19th century, whaling expeditions sometimes lasted several years. "There she blows!" was the familiar cry once whales were sighted, a reference to the whale's blowhole or spout, which is a kind of nostril. Rowing boats, under the power of both oar and sail, would be launched from the mothership to begin the attack with harpoons. Once killed, a whale would be towed back to the mothership. Whaling was a huge and profitable industry. The lure was whale oil and other precious materials that could be made into lamp oils, ointments, candles, and lubricants. Over many years, whales were hunted almost to extinction. Today, whale hunting is banned in many countries. Oils and other products are made from different materials, and these magnificent creatures of the sea are protected. But in times past, when there were many whales in the sea, things were very different. Chapter 1. Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. When the ghosts of old whaling men stir and stalk the dark lanes of old Nantucket town, people still talk of Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. They sit by roaring fires in the small cozy inns and taverns and tell the legendary sea tale to newcomers. They shiver as they think of the great white whale and the furious Captain Ahab. And they huddle closer to the fires as they speak. Ahab was a whaling captain, a famous figure on all the world's oceans. He was a prince among whalers, until the day Moby Dick, a monster whale, emerged from the depths and flew into the air above Ahab's boat. The whale dropped down on the boat, smashing it to pieces and sending Ahab and his crew flying into the churning waters of the Pacific Ocean. Not content with destroying the boat, the great whale bit off Ahab's leg before disappearing. The dismasted captain was rescued from the churning wild ocean, but almost died of his wounds. When he recovered, he swore revenge on the monster of the deep. So in 1848, he was ready to set sail from Nantucket Island on America's eastern seaboard, determined to find and kill Moby Dick. This book has some pictures. Chapter 2. The Spouter Inn. Call me Ishmael. They know me in almost every seaport around the world. I am an old sea salt, always yearning for the loneliness and wildness of the ocean. I am tormented by an itch for the things remote, forbidden seas and cannibal coasts. There was nothing that frightened me in my younger days, until I met Captain Ahab for the first time. I had decided to try my hand at whaling and was joining a whaling ship called the Pequod, a vessel just about to leave Nantucket Island on a 3-year whale hunt. I reached the island late on a frozen winter's night, 2 days before the ship was due to sail. It was snowing, and I could hardly find my way through the dark, frightening lanes of Nantucket, the main town on the island. The town seemed deserted. At last, I spotted an inn sign, lit by a flickering oil lamp. It read, "The Spouter Inn, landlord Peter Coffin." The name of the inn was taken from the whale's spout, its nostril or blowhole. The landlord's name gave me little hope for a happy stay in this god-forsaken place. Let's scrape the ice from my frosty feet, I said to myself, and see what sort of place this Spouter Inn is. Inside, the billowing smoke from the open fire was so thick in the room that I could not see much, except the vague outline of a huge painting hanging on one wall. On closer examination, it proved to be a picture of a great whaling ship sinking by Cape Horn. As my eyes grew accustomed to the smoke, I saw that the walls were also lined with old whaling harpoons. Some had little signs placed beside them. "With this harpoon," read one, "did Nathan Swain kill 15 whales between sunrise and sunset." Now I began to make out a few faces in the darkness. Sailors all drinking a rum or two, and serving them with a withered and weathered old sea dog, the landlord himself. "And what are you after, master?" asked Coffin. "A bed for the night," I said. "We've none left," he replied. "Yet you could share a bed with someone. You ain't got any objection to sharing a blanket with the harpooner, have you? I suppose you're going a whalin', so you'd better get used to sharing." The cabins on them ships are awful crowded. I had no choice. Who's my bedmate? I asked. A harpooner who eats nothing but blood-red steaks, he answered, a strange grin crossing his face. Some say he was once a cannibal. The thought of sharing a room with a cannibal chilled me more than the snow outside, but I had no choice. I took the room. That evening, sitting close to the fire in the bar, I got talking to some of the whaling men already there. I mentioned that I was to sail on the Pequod. Have you clapped eyes on Ahab yet? One sailor asked. Who's Ahab? I said. You're new to this game, aren't you? He replied. Everyone in whaling knows Ahab. He's the captain of the Pequod. 40 years a whaling man, and a strange man indeed. You can't miss him. He's only got one leg. How did he lose his leg? I asked. A whale stole it. He laughed. A whale devoured it, chewed it up, crunched it to bits, and spit it out. Aha! So it did. The sailor wasn't finished yet. Ahab is a mighty strange soul, especially since he lost that leg. He's got something personal against the whale that stole it. He rants and raves at that whale sometimes. He calls it Moby Dick. The sailor came closer, as though what he wanted to say was too dangerous to be overheard. They say it was long prophesied by a preacher man that a whale would steal his leg. Later, I talked with another man. When he heard I was to sail under Captain Ahab, he took me aside. I was with him when he lost that leg to the accursed whale, he explained. He went out of his mind for a while, but that was probably due to the shooting pains in his bleeding stump. Go on, I said. Well, he's been kind of moody ever since, he continued. Not himself, if you know what I mean. But if you're willing and brave enough to throw a harpoon down a whale's throat and then jump down after it, then Ahab is the captain for you. I eventually crept off to bed. There was no sign of my bedmate. When Coffin brought me some food, I asked him where he was. Oh, he won't be back till late, he said. He'll be out selling his heads. Selling his heads? Said I. Are you joking? Nope, said he. He's a native of the South Seas, just arrived. Brought with him lots of shriveled heads. Sort of embalmed skulls. Human heads. Great curiosities round here. Sold most of them already. But I saw him go out tonight with the last 4 dangling around his waist. They've all got a good head of hair if you want one. With that, Coffin left me, closed the door behind him. I shivered. The room was as cold as ice, but I shivered more at the thought of my bedmate returning with human heads rattling around his waist. There was a huge double bed on one side of the room. I clambered into it without taking any of my clothes off. Then I lay down and prayed to heaven that I would still be alive in the morning. I did fall asleep, but awoke again after a few hours. There were footsteps outside and flickering candlelight coming under the door. The door opened, and a giant figure of a man carrying a large canvas bag appeared. A single monstrous human head hung from his waist. Alright, that's it for tonight. I'll see you in the next video, starting with chapter 3. Bye!